Well, Downsview, yep. It looks like rain. It doesn't seem like it very much right now, but the fact is that they're calling for rain and a significant amount of rain tomorrow. Well, in fact, tonight. And for 12 to 15 hours worth, it's just supposed to rain and rain all the way through. So we decided prudent to just skip a week. Let's just push everything back a week. We'll go back to the 20th of September and we'll have our wonderful time of outdoor worship then, Lord willing. And tomorrow we're inside. So normal service times 9:30 and 11. Please give Catherine a call at 241-1681. Leave your message on the church voicemail there to see if you are coming to church and which of the two services, or go to Downsview Baptist at Gmail, or go to WEB web at downsviewbaptistchurch.com on our website, and you can leave a reservation there. Either way, be good to know if you're coming. We realize it's going to be a little bit last minute now, and we'll make arrangements as we can, but we want to continue to do that even safely. I'm pretty disappointed. I mean, kidding around with our umbrella and stuff, but the fact is that we were really looking forward to worshiping in song in particular this Sunday with you. I'm going to go and make a few adjustments to a message that will be more appropriate for indoors. I have the one for the outside, and go make some changes that way. And frankly, Saturday feels a little different than I expected it to, and probably for you. And excuse me, Sunday morning is going to feel a little different for us as well. We wake up on a Saturday morning and it's beautiful out here. I mean, it's sunshine, and think, oh, it's going to be fine. I noticed a number of other churches are planning or were planning outdoor services, and they canceled them as well. So I thought, okay, we're probably in good stead. And it reminded me back on March the 15th. Well, it reminded me on March the 14th, which was a Saturday. And it seemed like churches were dropping pretty quickly because of this new virus called COVID-19, or the coronavirus, and gee, is it really right to cancel? Really right to change things up? And as you well know, we did that for 5 months almost. And there's a weird feeling when you make a choice like that, because there's always someone out there who wants to tell you that it's the wrong choice, that you don't need to bother, that you're not waiting long enough to make the decision. You're just kind of pushing it too quickly, and if we just hang in there, maybe it will happen. And the fact is that tomorrow morning, as people are walking into church at 9:30, maybe it's going to look like this. Maybe the rain will blow over. Maybe as we're coming in 11 o'clock, it's going to be, sunny and warm. And what happened to the forecast? And you think, maybe we should have done it. Why did we cancel so early? Why didn't we trust that it would be okay? Why don't we have faith? Don't you trust God? You know how quickly those kind of things descend into that. And it's one thing for us to cancel services prudently for people's health. Now we're canceling services because we think it's prudent for our convenience. Excuse me. What would we do if we all show up and it's rainy? When do we make those decisions? Do we pull everybody inside? Well, we can't. We can't just walk inside. We have the numbers of restrictions and such. And yet, I know what it's like to second guess. Some of you are second guessing, even as you're watching our little video this morning. The fact is, friends, that there are aspects of trusting God that are connected to direct promises that God makes. And that's the kind of faith that we need to major in. Major in the trusting the promises of God. I end my little emails with confident in the promises of God. Just yesterday, it was the anniversary of the horrible tragedy of 9/11 in New York, as the World Trade Centers were victims of 2 terrorist attacks by 2 separate airplanes. The Pentagon and another plane that were on their way ended up crashing in a field in Pennsylvania. Pam and the boys and I were able to go to the site of that plane crash in Pennsylvania, where Todd Beamer and a number of folks lost their lives as they tried to retake that plane, or if couldn't retake it, to crash it into the ground before it could really get into a highly populated area. And by God's grace, they gave their lives for the sake of seeking to save others' lives as well. And when I think about that day, it was interesting to see how many people would look at a time like that and think, well, don't you have enough faith that God's going to take care of you no matter what happens? And I wrote in a little post that being a Christian is not a state in which we find ourselves promised that God's going to keep us free from all earthly harm. That's not a promise. It's a lie that has been espoused out there, that if you have enough faith, nothing wrong will ever happen. It's just not a promise of Jesus. Being a Christian is not combined with a promise that God will keep you free from all earthly harm. It is the promise that he will free you from eternal harm. That's the gospel, that in this life you will have trouble. That's a promise of Jesus. But take heart, because I've overcome this world, meaning what's happening in this world, I'm going to overcome it. It's going to be past this world into an eternity of joy that I promise you. Remember, perhaps in Mark, or the Gospel of Matthew, I wanted to say chapter 18. Sorry, I lost a reference. I'll put it down at the bottom of the video when I post this. Matthew 8. I think it's Matthew 8, isn't it? Where Jesus is out on the lake, on the boat, and the storm gets kicked up, and Jesus is sleeping. And his disciples are afraid. And they say, and wake him up, and they say, we're going to drown. Don't you care? Doesn't it matter? Aren't you concerned for us? Don't you care that what's going on with us? As if the mark of God's care for us is the lack of any difficulty for us. It's just not the promise of God. Jesus says, you have little faith. Why did you fear? Not fearing that they may very well have been swamped and drowned. People die and tragedies happen and horrific things are occurring in people's lives even today. Some of you watching this are thinking, yeah, I know what that's like. The fact is that Jesus promises in the midst of that he will care for us despite the outward appearance of our circumstances. And he'll bring us to it, and he'll bring us through it. Now, bringing us through it may be the end of our earthly lives. Bringing us through it may be years of physical difficulties. Bringing us through it to the next situation may be changing your worship service because it's going to rain. You might think that's a silly comparison. But think about the emotions that happened in some of our chests when we heard that we were going to cancel this worship service, and what was wrong with us. And don't we trust God? Talked to a gentleman just the other day again and said, we're not worried about these masks. We trust God, don't we? And I said, yes, brother, we trust God and we wear oven mitts. We trust God and we put our seatbelts on. We trust God and we wear glasses. We use wheelchairs. We take heart medication. We lock our doors. We give our children vitamins. We on and on and on. Wear a mask. And sometimes we change a church service because it seems like that's not the best way to move forward. Brothers and sisters at Downsview, we have a God who promises that he will care for us and he will take care of us, and it will be an eternal caring for us that very often has so many earthly rewards. We are the beneficiaries of so much of that. We have the blessed opportunity to experience the blessing of God tomorrow morning at 9:30 and 11. And we can hear the Word of God read. We can participate in the Word of God being prayed. We can enjoy the fellowship and the presence of God amongst his people. We can hear the word of God heralded and preached. We can listen to the truths of God and hum along as we see it on a video, and perhaps meditate on those words even more deeply than sometimes we do. So tomorrow we're indoors. Next Sunday we're outdoors, and we're looking forward to God's continued care for us through all those times. See you in the morning, friends. Cheers.